A question that has been moving through me lately is, if we want something new to grow, what has to be released to make room for it? I think of gardening. Nature is always the best analogy, where if you're planting seeds, you have to clear out the plot. You have to plow the field, right? So that nothing inhibits the growth of what you're planting. It doesn't get in the way of or take the nutrients, the energy from what you're sowing. And so, the ideas around this are like, growth requires space, right? Physically, energetically, emotionally. Expansion needs room. Like a plant will only get as big as its roots are able to. So if it's root bound in a pot, most plants won't get any bigger. Or like fish in a fish tank. A lot of fish will only grow to as big as their tank allows them to. And so, manifestation or creation of our reality isn't just about calling stuff in. It's also about what the space that we're cultivating for that to arrive. And what is already in the space, whether it supports the arrival of that creation, of that manifestation, or if it gets in the way of it. And it's interesting how this question has been coming through, and then the astrology perfectly supports it, of course. With today, currently, we are in the last quarter moon cycle. So it's the moon that's in between, it's after the full moon and before the new moon. So the moon is waning into darkness. And this particular moon cycle asks for release. The full moon illuminates something, it brings something into our awareness. And then the last quarter moon says, what are you going to do with this information? And it's not just about taking action, it's actually about making space, making room before the new moon cycles, which is where we plant the seeds. So right now we are preparing the plot. It's often comes through as a bit of a crisis of consciousness, because letting go can be really, really hard, right? And we have to make a choice between familiarity and comfort and what we're holding on to, and what it is that we want to come in. I mean, I think of a closet clean out, where it's like, I want a new wardrobe, but that means I have to get rid of stuff that's in my already full closet. And I don't, I go through it and I like this and I don't wear it, but what if I need it? And it's a whole ordeal. This is kind of like the last quarter moon, where we have to evaluate our lives, our space, and what's in it, and what's actually meaningful and useful and valuable, and what is complete. Maybe I really love this outfit, but it's not serving anymore. It doesn't express the identity that I'm in. It doesn't belong in this season of my life. And we can apply that to many things. The relationships in our life. Maybe sometimes they are complete and we're still holding on to them when they're ready to be let go. Maybe there are habits, there are routines, even. There's structure in our life that has held us really well, that has helped us cope, but is no longer aligned and needs to be released for something more supportive to replace it, that will actually allow what we want to flourish instead of inhibiting it and holding it back. Where are the things that are draining our energy rather than regenerating it? And there's, a tension between what we know and what we're willing to surrender. When we come to this, like I said, it's a crisis of consciousness where we know something, but now we have to apply it. And that can be really hard. Sometimes we just want to avoid it, bypass it. Like, nope, I'll just keep going. I'll plant the seeds in the garden anyways. And then when the cycle comes around and you see they didn't, what you planted didn't grow, or it struggled, or it's a bit deformed because of what was in the way, I say, oh yeah, I can see what I'm still holding on to. And so, this particular moon, especially in Pisces, this one is placed in Pisces, it especially asks for trust and surrender and flow and faith. And for us to let go. I mean, the last quarter moon asked for that, but especially Pisces. Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac, so it is about completion. So something to reflect on here, if anything specifically already came to mind, of what is complete in your life that is ready to be released, that is ready to be laid down. And you can do it with love and grace and gratitude before you move on. It just isn't meant to be in this next chapter for now. And a metaphor that I've been thinking on a lot lately, and of course it connects to this, the dots are all coming together, is the way we deadhead flowers. If you don't know what that means, it's when a flower has sprouted from a plant, when it starts to wilt, we would pluck it off so that the flower kind of goes into like a bit of a survival mode and says, oh, we need to create more blooms because we need to go to seed. And if that flower has been plucked off, we don't know that it's going to seed, right? Is it going to fall on the ground? Is it going to seed? And the thing about deadheading is that we are taking that flower head off, but we are crumbling it and letting it go to seed in the soil, but the flower doesn't know that. So it creates more blooms. And it's interesting that we would pluck something off, we would remove something, release something, and more would grow. That's an abundant state of mind. Instead of scarcity, saying, oh, I only have this one flower and we got to keep it, we can't pluck it. It's like, what if it thrives? This plant will thrive more when you pluck it when it's ready, when it's right before seeding. You pluck it and you help it seed. So yeah, this metaphor has really just been ringing in my mind because it's such a paradox. You remove the flower to create more flowers. At face value, that doesn't really make sense. To remove something from my life in order to allow more in, right? You would think that, no, I need to hold on to what I have. Again, this is like a scarcity mindset. But, nature understands something that we often forget, that completion creates capacity. When we let something be complete, now there is space for something new to emerge. And so when we pluck the flower off the plant, we're not punishing it. We're actually helping it redirect its energy into more growth. And so this past weekend, I was mowing. And it was interesting timing because I wanted to come share this transmission. I wanted to create a post about this last quarter moon, but the timing was just not aligning with my daughter's nap and the things we had going on, and so I just surrendered it. I was like, it'll come together when it can. I trust. I trust, and this happens all the time. That when I release it and give it space, these amazing new insights or these new pieces come together with the puzzle that complete the vision and the transmission that wants to come through me. And so that's exactly what happened. While I was mowing, the metaphor got bigger. I went deeper. So part of when I was mowing, yes, the grass is tall. We've had a lot of rain, but also we have sticker burrs in our yard that came with some dirty river bottom sand that we had delivered years ago. And so we have been plucking them and laying down preen in the seasons to keep it from seeding and so many things. But in the meantime, while we're eradicating these stickers, I have to mow with the push mower with a bag on it in order to bag the sticker burrs so they don't fall on the ground and seed. And so the sticker burrs have recently started to bloom. And it's unfortunate because the wildflowers are also quite in bloom, and I hate to mow over them, for the bees, for the butterflies. Now, there is an abundance. We have a large area. There are lots of wildflowers growing, but these are particularly in my front yard, and they are beautiful. They're beautiful. I love to look at them. The little tiny chamomile daisies, the big cone flowers, I don't know, there's all these different purple ones and yellow ones, and it's beautiful. And most of these are ready to go to seed as well. And so I'm sort of deadheading them through mowing, but still, there's some grief, I'll be honest, when I'm like, oh, I have to mow all this down. But it is to get the stickers, So it's not enough to say that I want a barefoot yard, which I truly do. And that's why I go through this manual labor of mowing and bagging and dumping and all of the things. I want that barefoot yard. And so I have to stop the growth of what doesn't allow that, which is the stickers. It's not going to allow my beautiful barefoot yard to grow. And this is so much like life where, we can want peace, we can want abundance, we can want health, we can want love, we can want creativity, we can want more money, the new job, our relationship to improve, more friendships, more fun experiences. We can want all of that. But if you're still letting the sticker burrs go to seed, the future is going to recreate itself. What you have is going to perpetuate. It's going to continue. And so in order to remove that which I don't want, I have to let go of some things that are really beautiful in my life, like the wildflowers. Some things that, that actually, there's grief behind letting them go. The wildflowers, they're not toxic like the stickers. They're not wrong. They're not harmful. Not everything we release is that. It's just simply complete. The wildflowers were going to seed too. And they'll fall on the ground equally as much as the stickers still did. Even though I bag a lot of it, they'll still fall on the ground and seed. I've been bagging these sticker burrs for 2 years, by the way, and we still have an abundance of wildflowers grow. And an abundance of stickers, but less, much less. More wildflowers, less stickers. But this is all about, some things have gone to season and they've given all that they are here to give. They are complete. And it can almost, break our own heart sometimes to let go of things in our life that we're really attached to, but we know are no longer aligned. So I'd ask you to reflect on what is complete and what keeps reseeding itself in your life because you haven't, plucked it or bagged it, let it go, removed it even. What are the sticker burrs in your life? The harmful, toxic, prickly things that keep getting in the way of your barefoot yard. And what are the wildflowers that are beautiful and are ready to go to seed? They serve for a season and their season is over for now. It doesn't mean you have to say goodbye forever. It's just redirecting your energy. And what have you outgrown that you feel attached to still, but that it's time to lay it down and put your attention, your focus elsewhere. And lastly, what are you trying to manifest, trying to create in your life, trying to experience while simultaneously feeding its opposite? What are the habits in your life actually feeding? Are they cultivating what you want? Staying up late at night because you want the free time to scroll or watch TV or indulge, but then you're sleepy in the morning and it's this perpetual cycle. You've got to find some balance, right, in order to truly nourish what it is that you want. And it was interesting when I was mowing the lawn, I normally kind of go in these patches, right? There's a rhyme to the reason, but it's not completely linear. Sometimes I see a big patch of stickers and I go there first because the bag is empty and they'll go in there and I know that it's not going to spew those stickers everywhere like when the bag is full, right? And it could potentially leave some on the ground. And so when I empty the bag, the first place I go is the biggest patch of stickers I see in the area that I'm focused on. And then I mow around that. But it definitely doesn't always look like a perfect job, and it doesn't look linear. It doesn't look like well-laid plans. But there is intention in where I'm moving and where I'm going and what I'm tending to. And our life can look that way too. Like maybe we're trying to logically approach a path that is saying no. You can feel the pull, you can feel the tug of your attention going somewhere else. And you say, well, that doesn't come first though. But maybe if you look at it from a non-logical, a non-linear approach, it is the place that comes first, that needs attention first. Maybe what needs to be removed, maybe what needs to be tended to initially is going to support the movement, the direction that you're going after it. So just some thought as I was looking back on a video of myself mowing the yard, and I was like, this looks like quite erratic. But I know that in the moment I had direction, I had intention. There was a method to the madness. Even though it was not linear or logical seeming, was not a well-laid plan, right? It was from my bird's eye view and my insight and, what caught my attention of like, oh, that's where I need to go next. So yeah, the flowers taught me something while I was mowing before the storm. I was mowing before a storm came, which is going to bring more growth. And that growth isn't just about what we nurture, it's also about what we're willing to remove in order to allow that growth to happen. It's about what we're willing to trust is complete and to honor that by releasing it. And what we're willing to stop carrying forward into the next season. Because if we don't let go, what will grow?